Hey, welcome to Pen Island Inc. I am your host, Intern Tom, and today I'll be doing our first ever pen review. This episode will focus on the Bic Cristal Xtra Smooooth pen. This packaging says it's up to 35% extra smooth, and I have no idea what that means. Anyways, here's a shot of the cheap paper I'll be using and the ruler for drawing straight lines. You're probably wondering why I'm putting on gloves. I like to think it's that my boss is looking after me for making sure I don't get ink on my hands, but it's because he thinks that this is a professional organization, and something on screen has to look presentable to those pedophiles. I thought he said pedophiles, and I'm no way going to attract any of them with these hands. So maybe that's why he's making me wear these gloves. Anyways, to attract all you pedophiles, let's start off with an unboxing. I'll be using a knife I found at Home Depot to create a panel for me to shove my hands in and gently present the viewer the sample of pens I'll be working with. Here's a cool little snippet of me failing at that. As you can see, my knife didn't even penetrate the cardboard backside. And what'd you expect? This wasn't going to look cool to begin with. So as I try to make a crappy B-roll, I will now take the chance to explain our mission. It's simple but precise. Scientifically measure the endurance of every writing tool we encounter. Through rigorous and controlled experiments, we'll uncover just how far your ink, lead, or marker can take you. Now on to the scientific part. For our review process, we'll draw 100 lines per page on 8.5 by 11 paper. I will use a ruler to assist me in drawing lines, ensuring that the most accurate 8.5 line is being drawn. I will only use one pen for this test because this process is time intensive and I don't get paid to do this. Now let's begin. Alright, now time to fill up for the rest of the video with factoids about pens. I'm thinking I've got like 3 minutes of riffing, so my boss says that I need to do this so I can be more engaged with the penophiles out there, and so that you guys will be less bored and be less tempted to skip to the end. So let's discuss the math behind our testing. My producer is now waving me that I have 30 minutes to record, which is... Okay, I did not prepare for that. Like, what am I supposed to talk about for that long? He thinks that... I don't understand. I wrote an intro and outro, and then I have the math behind it. But I guess now I have to talk about the math at the end of it, and talk for another 20 or 30 minutes, whatever. He told me I should have worked with the editor to see how much time how much I needed to write, and... Of course, like, I'm recording this now, and this will definitely be included in it because, I'm just... Anyways, let's get on with it. I guess it's too soon to talk about math, so let's talk about my feelings instead. And not my feelings about having to talk about this for 30 minutes, but let's talk about, like, how we never really get to truly feel about how we use a pen. Like, I don't know about you, but I use up every pen that I start writing with. Like, when I sit there and I finish the pen, I'm like, I did it! I used up all the ink! But then no one at work really cares, and my coworkers are like, that's cool, Tom, but that's not really going to help us fundraise for Linda's new kidney. And I don't care about that. It's not my fault that she downed 25 laxative brownies in an hour, causing her to have laxative-induced rhabdomyolysis. To me, I'm thinking about the movie Taken, starring my favorite action hero, Liam Neeson, and he's trying to brag to his daughters, he's bragging to his daughter's kidnappers about his special skills, and the Albanian's just like, yeah, I don't care about your special skills. But, if I had a hand in that movie, I would have put some element of Goldfinger where Liam Neeson covers someone in ink, like, except he scribbles the whole body of the Albanian, significantly delaying the rescue of his daughter, just like I'm delaying the inevitable conclusion you're going to have at the end of this video that this was a waste of time. So anyways, so he keeps the pen, and he knows he's going to need it to rescue his daughter, and that you have like a sick fight scene like in Jason Bourne. And then in the last scene where he kills the bodyguard and the sheikh, or whoever that fat guy is at the end holding his daughter, is holding her as hostage, and the sheikh is just about to say, we can negotiate, and Liam Neeson throws a pen through his skull, and he says some like really cool line, something from like a 1990s or 1980s, like a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie when in Commando he's like, lose some steam, Bennett, after a pipe goes through the body and the steam comes out. So anyways, in this one, he's going to throw the pen through the guy's skull, and then he says, I guess the ink is mightier than the sword, because, he stabbed the bodyguard at the end. Or he'll be like, looks like I made a good point. or yeah, something stupid like that. But anyways, back to my feelings about using a pen. It's crazy because, like, you know, none of us get to experience the euphoria of using a pen until it's done, but instead we feel frustration for losing that pen, or at least I do. And I get really annoyed when someone borrows it and doesn't return it, like that asshole Greg. And he just goes back to his car, circling in the parking lot, circling, screaming, something like an Eminem song, like "I don't give a fuck," with his windows down and the system up, you know. And it kind of reminds me of like a banks. Banks have the right idea of like attaching the pens to a counter so you can't steal them. And that's probably why they probably had hidden fees for a long time, because, well, they still do, but they probably have hidden fees to pay for all the pens that the grandmas steal for when they're writing their checks, because they're, not using credit cards, or when the kids steal the pens at that center aisle right before you go into the teller where you have those deposit slips that no one ever uses. And I think smokers have the same problem too. And what I think people should create is like a ball or a chain, because we're talking about chains right now. A chain that connects to your wrist and that connects to a lighter, so that the lighter never, goes beyond arm's length, so to speak. Back to the Eminem part. I think it would be pretty fun to write the letters in the song "Stan" nonstop while I'm drinking vodka, and my insides would probably come out before my pen does. And it's going to be like one of those experiments where you're not sure what's going to kill you first, the alcohol poisoning or the sheer existential despair of copying down lyrics to a song that's already kind of depressing. And so, but this is how I'm imagining the scene in that when I'm recording it. And I'm just going to be sitting there hunched over my cultural notebook, hands only, because you can't see my face, with my nice gloves that are for the penophiles out there, and the Bic crystals clutched in my ink-stained fingers, just scribbling "Dear Slim" and over again while I'm pouring another shot. And by the third verse, I'm either passed out or questioning every life choice that's brought me to this point. And I'll probably have to explain to my boss and gaslight him why I'm drinking so much vodka. And I'm gonna have to tell him that it's like I was holding a morale event for myself at my desk all night without him, just so he doesn't question the bloodshot, teary eyes and the bottles of Pepto in the trash. Then you think about it, like, what's the end game there of me putting myself through that kind of despair? Like, do I frame the notebook as some sort of performance piece? Like, yes, this represents the futility of human effort. Like that duct tape banana that sold for $6 million only to be eaten immediately afterwards. Meanwhile, the pen manufacturer is probably putting me on a watch list for abusing their product in the most psychotic way possible. But let's be real, that's why, like, pens are amazing. They're the perfect tool for documenting human insanity. Whether you're drafting a love letter or doodling the margins, or you're a disgruntled teen writing down names in your death note, or, just writing "Stan" while downing Smirnoff. Pens are there for you. They don't judge, they just write. And, like, they make you think slower also, because your hand can't keep up with the pace of your thoughts unless you're like a secretary from the 1950s who knows how to write shorthand. But anyways, it's annoying when you have to write down your thoughts because you can't capture the fleeting thoughts, forcing you to settle for less than profound ideas that could have come across as great or lame, kind of depending on how mature you are. But you don't want to use those recorders because you're not a business professional from the 1990s dictating your thoughts to a secretary who's like stereotypically has a crush on you since you guys work together all day, 5 days a week. This isn't like a Mad Men episode. But you want that feeling of increased mindfulness of putting your thoughts down on paper, not talking to an inanimate object, because, we're not playing with dolls here. Plus, no one likes the sound of their own voice, so why would you want to go back listening to it for reminiscing on past embarrassments? But back to that love letters, or no, I'm talking about letters in general. It got me thinking about love letters. And when the first humans started using pens, like with the feather ones, and one guy's like, "Dear John, I cheated on you," and he has to stop every 3 seconds to re-dip the feather. Like, that's annoying, first of all, but it's also like commitment. Like, not this shit where I have to write lines for hours on end with no real purpose other than to make sure I counted 100 lines on a piece of paper, which I failed to do on the first page, as you noticed. So, I mean, you really have to want to break someone's heart to deal with all of that mess. I'd give up, though, so that I could like spill the ink on the paper, ruining the message, and then I'd lying to myself, saying that I had no intention of sending it because I needed to process my emotions, and it was actually a Lincoln letter, leading me to continue to hold my secret like I'm the Count of Monte Cristo. Except I bully a monk companion into scribing all my brooding letters for me about my so-called friend who threw me in the jail in the first place. But like, imagine outsourcing your angst to some imprisoned monk who's just trying to hit his daily parchment quota. Like the guy sitting there like, do you want me to just add some dramatic pauses here or just keep it tight, And meanwhile, you're pacing the jail cell going, make sure my pain come across as regal yet relatable, and then burning because I don't want this getting out. And then you have to treat him like he's the man in the iron mask and then replace his body and burn it so that no one knows that he's there, but then you're actually the monk escaping, just like in the movie. Anyways, let's move on. So I never understood why pens can be so expensive. It's like no one's gonna know that you wrote GG in someone's funeral obituary with a $400 Mont Blanc pen. Even if they did, right? What are they supposed to say? Wow, this eulogy has really fancy ink. It truly honors that they're deceased. I'm glad they didn't use charcoal. No, they're going to roll their eyes and wonder why you didn't just send an Arby's gift card because they're too sad to cook for themselves. I learned on HBO Max some QAnon conspiracy documentary that Trump uses Mont Blanc pens. Or maybe the conspirator did. Anyways, well, Trump with Mont Blanc pens is like Ted Turner with 24 hours news cable. He saved it. One time he came to Penisland Inc. and he told my boss a story about how he saved the company. And I like to think it went something like this. And this is my Trump impression. Let me tell you, I've seen a lot of pens in my life. Beautiful pens, incredible pens. Some people are saying, I'm not saying it, but people are saying I have the best pen collection. But this pen, unreal. What a story. What a journey. You wouldn't believe it if I told you, but I'll tell you anyway because you deserve it. This pen, it's been 100 years. 100, okay? Not 7, not 9 years, 100 years in a dog water state. Sad. Totally neglected. A disgrace. The company, by the way, was falling apart. Weak business model. The worst business in history. They told me I could turn it around. That's what they said, not me. I was thinking about my stakes, but this pen they gave me, it was strong. Very strong, and I had to save the company. Now, some pen would have given up. They would have said, you know what, I'm done. I'm not writing another letter. But now this pen, no. This pen, it persevered. It's the kind of pen we all strive to be, frankly. A real winner, like how he won the election. I hear it all the time. They likened the pen to me. I couldn't agree more. When I picked up the pen, though, because I'm a big pen guy, always have been, I could feel the history, tremendous history, 100 years of history. People don't appreciate history like they used to, but I do. I pick up this pen, and it's like talking to me. It says, Mr. Trump, because even pens, they call me Mr. Trump, very respectful. Mr. Trump, I've been in your chest pocket for so long, 100 years, can you believe it? And I said to the pen, I believe it, I do. Nobody else would, but I believe it. I use you for every stimulus check, including the ones for Michael. And then the pen tells me the story. It was there when the students crammed for finals. It was there when the commuter spilled coffee. It even saw some janitor mop the floor, very poorly, by the way, probably an unqualified guy. But this pen, it stayed strong. It stayed true. And one day, a kid named Barack Hussein Obama picks it up. Finally, right? But guess what? The kid clicks it, sees no ink, and throws it right back under the Syrian sand. Can't believe it? The disrespect. That's what's wrong with people today. No loyalty, no patience. He told me that he couldn't draw a red line with it. I draw so many red lines. They call me the daredevil because I do things everyone in Washington is too afraid to do. They want everything to break instantly, but that's not how pens work, folks. That's not how life works. I asked the pen, why didn't you quit? Why didn't you just give up? And this pen, this incredible pen, looks at me and says, because I'm a pen, Mr. Trump, and pens don't quit. We write until we're out of ink, and that's what I do. That was beautiful, absolutely beautiful story. I almost cried, and let me tell you, I don't cry. People are always saying, Mr. Trump, you're so strong. You never cry. And it's true, but this pen, it almost got me. So I did what anyone would do. I used it, I wrote down my story, I wrote down its story. Every word you're reading right now, this pen wrote it. And when I finished, guess what? The ink ran out. It's stupid. That would be pretty cool though, Also, thumbs up if you like my Trump impression. So it'd be pretty cool though if a pen could just like talk to you while you wrote, like it connected with you about your thoughts, and then out of nowhere it calls you retarded for what you wrote. And then also like imagine like the pen's like just too comfortable with you. You're halfway through writing a poem and it suddenly blurts out, "This metaphor is so overdone. Why are you even trying?" Of course, you're jotting down ideas for a novel and then, or worse, actually, no, that would be worse. Or like worse, you're jotting down your ideas for a novel. I burped. And the pen interrupts and says, "Hold on. Did you seriously just write that? You're going to make me run out of ink for this?" It probably would be really useful for a test because it would instinctively know the answer and tell you you're stupid for bubbling the wrong letter. What else do I talk about? I've got like 10 more minutes and then I have to talk. Okay. I think it would be better to keep this to 10 minutes in the future, especially since advertisers want that. And I want the advertiser money, you know? Well, you know what I'm saying? Like the boss, of course, the boss is going to get the money. Like the boss could finally afford a bus pass for me and I can start eating more than just ramen for every meal, like putting an egg in the ramen. And then the boss can also get a microwave so I don't have to raw dog a ramen anymore during lunch and create a mess because I'm just biting it into ramen. But I don't buy the ramen in the, the bowl, right? I buy it in the bag so I can eat it because that'd be weird. It would be pretty hard to eat a ramen that was in the shape of a cup. Probably a lot easier. It's a lot easier to eat it when it's in the bag, so it looks like a book, for lack of a better analogy. Anyways, you can't just it's always annoying also to keep all those ramen flavored packets at your desk. Like you can't just throw them away because they are good, but not good on their own. You can't just combine it with the water and drink it. You also can't just do like one of those cinnamon challenges because it's full of sodium and that sucks. But when you combine it with water, it's not like real broth, like what do you call it, like a bone broth or a meat broth. Like you can drink those on their own, right? Especially if you're on a diet, but you can't do that with this because it has no nutritional value. Anyways, it's easier to explain a drawer full of ramen packets because you can just say you're saving it for a holiday party because you're gonna have to do your own version of a suicide shot. And for those who don't know, a suicide shot is when you snort a line of salt, squeeze a lime in your eye, and then you do a shot of like a plastic bottle of tequila. And the idea behind it is that like each one is supposed to ignore the pain of the other one, like how in Vietnam they break your finger if you got shot, so your pain would focus on your broken finger and not on the bad heroin that was laced with rat poison because Charlie knew you were a fiend. Anyways, so this version would just involve snorting wasabi and then pouring a shot of soju into the shot of ramen spice, and then but I wouldn't recommend it. So here are the other days I had. Like there's one for government employees who are doing freedom of information requests, and obviously I have to use a Sharpie or black bar. Although there's funny stories I think I heard on stuff you should know that sometimes people would just put black bars on PDFs, and then people found a way that you could just move the black bars, and it's dumb. It's a lot easier to just print out the paper and then black it out. And anyway, so this one is going to be for those guys who have to use Sharpies, and the way this works, it's going to show how many secrets they hide from us. I think we should do a FOIA request soon. And then we black out what they've blacked out. Anyways, so the other one I thought of is there's one for teachers and professors and teaching assistants who want to know how many Fs they can give their students. So I'm going to use a red pen to see how many Fs I can write. Maybe I'll draw an F, right? I write an F. Yeah, you don't draw Fs. So anyways, so that they can figure out how many Fs they can write so that they can fuck up grade inflation at their university or school, leading to massive review bombs on their Rate My Teacher websites. And meanwhile, you're silently gloating on the F up this class. And then the dean hears you saying that and threatens to fire you because you're not tenured or protected by a union, leading you to fuck him up with a night out for drinks, to clear the air, and then drawing a Hitler stash on his upper lip because he's acting like a Nazi for limiting your free speech. Anyways, so I want to see more Fs in schools so kids build a backbone and struggle until their professor or teacher surprises them with A's because they have to, grade on a curve due to everyone's Fs. Now, for you musicians out there, I found a pen that has 4 or 5 pens on there, or however many letters there are on a music sheet. And so you can see how many Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars you can play over and over again. And maybe I should, and then like with that, I'll play a really annoying song, like this song never ends in the background for whatever, how long, 20 minutes, yeah. And then I'll also ramble in the background as well. And of course, I can't forget you pencil users. There's going to be a 5mm versus 7mm test, which sounds pretty useless since they're, the same length. So I'll try to use like a comedically large pen that I won't have a sharpener for. So I have to use like my bad Home Depot knife to cut through it, just like I did through that box. And that's supposed to be, supposed to like satisfy your inner child ideations, since you would see that at the store and your field trip and you like thought it would be so cool to use it, and then it turned out to be very impractical. And then there's one for like med students out there, because I think about all of the subjects that people learn. Yes. And I'll be using a highlighter to see how much knowledge you need to memorize before you realize that all you need to know is that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. That's really all I got. That's all the ideas I got for now. I'd like more suggestions if you have them. Put them in the comments. I know you want to waste both of our times with knowledge of how long writing utensils last. And maybe I can cover erasers so you can like finally see how much of your thesis you need to throw away before you use it as toilet paper, instead of crumbling it up into a ball into your overloaded trash can with your other bad ideas. Because people still write with pens, or their thesis in pens, I guess. But anyways, if you're still here and watching this video, it sounds like you're looking for inspiration to get a breakthrough, since you're tired of looking at your reflection, pondering why we need to know why quails' mating dances are based on a lunar cycle. I mean, it sounds like something we need to know just in case Elon Musk destroys the planet, because I heard on a daily podcast that he was destroying habitat wildlife with his rocket engines, who would just like projectile vomit rocks onto the protected birds' nests. And then he said like, yeah, I'll make up for the destruction of the ecosystem by not eating eggs for a couple of days. It's a very zero-sum attitude, which somewhat makes sense, but also it doesn't make up for the fact that we're losing precious birds. Anyways, I digress. Let's get back to the disgruntled people I was mentioning before, who's writing manifestos, and instead of writing them, they should just hit record on Fox News and let the computer transcribe their replacement theory nonsense. This might be controversial, since Pen Island Ink is all about people using pens, but I don't want those losers using my pens. And if they do, I hope the ink bleeds through their paper and ruins their desks. Yeah, I said it. They're probably like using ink because they think pens are just tools for like stabbing paper, but like in a polite, civilized way, and something that they can't, physically get out of themselves. So maybe that's actually good for them. And they're probably just saying like, I'm upset at the world, but let me gently puncture this thick eraser instead of dealing with my issues. I mean, it's probably whatever, gets them to fucking get over it, right? It's, but like eventually they'll probably course correct, and make you realize that, wait, where's it going with this? Right, Inksy Teens, yeah. So I think they should just listen to like My Chemical Romance if they want to sulk about societal unfairness, and blast Black Parade and let Jared Way walk you through the sadness, or just see a therapist. Therapists are like pens, At first they're all like sounding bored, or no, they're not like pens. Where's I going with this? The therapists. Therapists at first, yeah. Therapists are like a sounding board, just sitting there while they scribble your nonsense all over the page. But then eventually they'll course correct you, and then make you realize that yes, you absolutely are insane and need to reevaluate your entire life, which honestly is the kind of point of therapy. But here's a twist, you notice your therapist is jotting down notes during your sessions, and you're thinking like, what are they using? A pen. And suddenly it's like a pen becomes a weapon in their hands, not just a tool just for recording your trauma, but for dissecting it, underlining every moment you went off the rails, just like you were in a benzo hole. And you sit there wondering, what if the pen they're using isn't even that great? What if they're just taking apart my psyche with some off-brand Bic that stops working halfway through my emotional breakthrough? It's like an existential whiplash. And on one hand, you're like, wow, therapy's helping. And on the other hand, you're like, I really hope he gets all my thoughts down using a Pilot G2 for this. And then you spiral. Like, what if they're writing down something totally unrelated to what I'm saying? Like, buy almond milk on my way home, or worse, they're doodling and I'm out here having a breakdown while they're perfecting their stick figure family. You'd probably never know because therapy notes are confidential, but the thought sticks with you and you're not really sure if your therapist is mental health equivalent of a kindred spirit or a bored DMV employee. But, either way, you leave the session questioning everything, including your own stance on pens. And I think I've said enough, and hopefully the video is about to end soon because I've run out of ideas. And we can finally get to the math part, which I've dedicated a lot of time to because it took a lot of time to count all those lines and then do some weird quirky math to figure out like how long are letters when I put them in a college ruled notebook, and how long are those letters, and if I had to spell out haha, how much ink, how long is a capitalized haha, and how much does that ink cost? Anyways, we're gonna find out soon because by that time I'm done talking about this, we'll have probably reached the end of the video where I ran out of ink. Alright, so this is a post-edit outro, and for me, I don't know if I can do that again. Riffing for 20 minutes about pens is very hard, and hopefully I can keep this down to 10 minutes because I'm no Bill Burr. I can't just talk about bullshit for an hour. But now for the most important part of the video, the math. As you can see, we ran out of ink after 5 hours, 41 minutes, and 7 seconds, and we drew a total of 8,305 lines, approximately. As you notice, I couldn't count to 100 lines on the first page, so I'm adding a plus or minus 2 for like a standard deviation from it. But, can you blame me? I don't know about you, but I definitely couldn't sit there for 5.5 hours drawing lines, and I couldn't do that I couldn't do that. I couldn't count for that long either. In total though, we did draw 70,592.5 inches long, which is more than a mile. Can you believe that? Now for the fun part. So let's calculate how many letters you can draw with this pen. First, we're going to make the following assumptions about how we can determine how many words we can write. So to calculate the number of letters that we can write, let's assume that each one takes about 0.3 inches or 7.62 millimeters in height, and the ink line is approximately 0.5 millimeter thick. So I can't for the life of me tell you how many words that is really. I tried asking ChatGPT to help me with that, and then it just gave me a Python script to figure that out. So let's just go with the letter H and A, which is approximately 48 milliliters, and then double that to make the word haha. And with that, you can make 19,074 ha-has and just have enough ink to write exclamation mark at the end to get your point across, just so that you can tell someone that you think is funny. Let me know if you too wasted your time learning about this or thought my math was completely wrong. Until next time.